Oh, hey there. Welcome back. We're here again. Another episode of NewOrleans.Football. I never know what to say when we start these. So we're coming to you from the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio up here on Vets next door to my guy, Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. And this is, of course, another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee, the best coffee in the world. Matt's the best car dealer that you can find. So go check him out at one of his many locations. I like the Ford one up here, freshly built. They got a great lobby, great staff, great prices, great everything. Everything Matt does is great. So check him out at one of his dealerships. We got a lot to talk about today. Week 2 of Rizzi ball. Erik McCoy's coming back. So much more. We're going to get into all of that and everything else right after this quick word from our sponsors. Ochsner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Fuaga Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Fuaga Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Fuaga Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Fuaga worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Fuaga. That's 504-326-6526. Fuaga Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Punch Tool Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio up here on Vets, next door to my guy Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. We got another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill, Mike Triplett, Brandon Thomas over there. B, what do we got?
I think we should start doing like skits as the cold open before the open.
No skits.
No skits. Just to do something.
No skits.
But let's get into our first topic presented by Fuaga Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Does Erik McCoy coming back? You know, we saw him last week at practice, but it was like, I don't know if he's going to be available to play. cured the offense's problems. They cut Connor McGovern earlier this week. Lucas Patrick had filled in. McGovern had filled in. McGovern ended up back on the Jets, the team that the Saints snatched him up off the bus from. So does Erik McCoy cure the problems?
I kind of feel like they did that to him as a solid. We'll have to ask the exact details about that, but that was a little interesting because he's a good insurance policy, but that's the team he's been with for a long time. He lives there. He came and hooked the Saints up, and they let him go home when they didn't need him anymore. But look, Erik McCoy alone can't solve the mess that we've seen in this 3-7 season. But man, oh man, is he close? Is he close to the most important player on the team? I don't think anyone has valued Erik McCoy more than in this stretch that he's missed. Credit to Nick. We did our top 20 player rankings this offseason, and you had him third on the team, and I think we were more like 6th, 7th or something like that. He's probably going to be second and third on all of our lists next year because we realized how important he was. I mean, the offense was lights out. Coaches have said it. People you talk to behind the scenes have said it. Analysts who watch the film have said it. People watching this team from across the league have said it. Erik McCoy makes this team go, and one of the best centers in the league, absolutely one of the best centers for this type of scheme. Composes the line, athletically moves the line. We'll see. He might have to shake off rust like Derek Carr had to shake off rust in his first game back. But we're talking about a guy who you could argue is as important as any single injured player they've had all season long.
Yeah, me putting Erik McCoy third probably should have been a bigger red flag about the state of the team, though. Like, if your center is the third guy on that list, that probably says more about the team than it says about him. Like, and he's a great player, but your center should never be the third guy on that list. There should be more players. And I mean, look. First of all, McGovern, my guess is they wanted him back on the practice squad. He got claimed off waivers, so like it wasn't. Like, he didn't have a choice. Like, they said, we're taking you, and they took him back.
I'm saying, why not just keep him on the 53-man roster? He's a good insurance policy. Yeah.
Need the roster spot, and they probably figured this guy was on a practice squad all year, and nobody wanted him, and you're cutting him, and he got claimed. If anything, like, maybe that's mismatched. Like, if that
we'll have to find out about that for sure.
Like, that would be a mistake if you were trying to keep him and you weren't willing to lose him. I think you're probably willing to lose him at that point. Like, if you see him as center only and you like the other guys better at guard, like, it's just probably okay. We're going to cut him, and if we can keep him, we can keep him. Okay with losing him if we lose him. But if he was like irreplaceable, I don't think you even. Yeah. I don't think you're doing anyone favors when you're trying to win.
Right.
So, I mean. Good player, though. I mean, he did his job, and I think it was just time to replace him. But, I think McCoy matters a lot. I just can't shake the feeling that it says something about the team, that he's that. Like, there's not that many players ahead of him. I was doing a T-Bob and Jake show on Tuesday, and we were doing a thing like if you had to pick, like they were doing a jersey pick, but it was basically if you have to pick one young player, who would it be? And the guys that got named, he ended up being third on that list too. And it was just kind of like, damn, like really? It was Pete Werner, Fuaga, and then him. Like, just as far as like young core guys, like if you were a fan buying a jersey, whose would you buy and have the expectation that like, A, they're good and they're going to be around. And those are the only ones. And he's like 27 years old. So it's just kind of. Alante was on that list too.
Olave, obviously, but I mean,
well, no, because like Olave is probably what's his long-term status here? Did they re-sign him? Probably. Right. I doubt it. Like, my guess is no, because I don't think they're going to be in a competitive situation where spending $30 million on Chris Olave makes sense. I think if you're a contender, like spending that money on him is the piece that puts you over the top. Makes a ton of sense. But if you're a team that's kind of like rebuilding right now, I don't know if I see him doing that. I could see him getting I could see him getting like tagged and then he goes, but I don't know if I see the long-term deal in the immediate future just on the track that they're on right now. Rashid Shaheed would be another one, but like, what's he going to cost? It's tough, but I mean, I think Erik McCoy is really important. I think he makes their running game go. And if you are a team with no wide receivers, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is like your only option. Being able to run the ball better, I think is something that is going to help quite a bit. Gives you better pass protection. So he definitely raises the ties. Like, it's just jarring to me that like he's in that spot. Like, that you don't maybe have more young skill players or guys at premium positions that's just like, well, the center's obviously one of the best centers in the league, but where does he rank on this list? And he's He's right up at the top.
Well, look, I've been saying for the last couple of years that's my biggest concern with this entire franchise is 5 years ago they had 7-8 guys that were in like the top 100 NFL players list. This year they had 0. And the ones who might have made it were Demario Davis, Alvin Kamara, Tyrann Mathieu's been making those lists. They're all older at their positions. Marshon Lattimore, obviously, if healthy. But yeah, I mean, Dennis Allen got in trouble for saying it a few weeks ago, or he got backlash for saying it. But the young core talented players on this team is number one with a bullet, underline, red, bold.
Well, he got in trouble because he said they have none. Like I think they have some. I think they have some. Like I'd throw Fuaga on there. I'd throw Werner on there. Alante's in that bubble. Shahid's in that bubble. Chris is in that bubble.
Yeah.
Like his thing is that he said they had none. Like, and that's kind of.
Like, I wouldn't put any of them in the Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Alvin, Mike Thomas. I mean, like I said, I keep saying top 100 players, but like none of those guys are anywhere near NFL's top 100 player list right now.
You're talking about Hall of Fame talent though, but like I think they're very good.
Very good.
I mean, like, and I would argue that Chris is a borderline like great at what he does.
Yeah.
He's just been hurt, so. Yeah, I think the way he said that's crazy.
He said it bad, yeah.
And then if you're a guy that's like on the cusp of getting fired, like I don't think you start talking about your players like that. It comes off as if you're trying to save yourself and you're throwing people under the bus. Like, well, they didn't give me a good team, so what am I supposed to do? Like that's how that comes off.
Yeah, we'll have to continue to see McCoy and how he progresses in practice today. But let's go to our next segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. The offensive line as a whole, sticking with them. Let's look at the ends. Nick, you had an article detailing Trevor Penning. Kind of, where's Fuaga and Penning at this point of the season?
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat right now, too. They said, I'll just answer this one now. They said, because I want to make sure this article came across the right way. He said, with Nick's breakdown on Penning, do we see them focusing elsewhere in the upcoming draft, pass rusher, blah, 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 blah. I said, right in there that the way he's playing does not mean that you don't draft a tackle. I think he's been a good run blocker, and I think he has a lot of growth to still make as a pass protector. But you see measurable growth in recognition and intelligence and understanding the game and how to avoid some penalties. But he still gets penalties. But there's growth, and I will put Fuaga in that same basket. I think he's an asset as a run blocker, and I think he's spotty as a pass protector. And I think there's a lot of work that he needs to do too. I think both those guys are getting better, but I don't think either one of them are you look at them and say they're exactly where they need to be or this is good enough. No, I think they both still need to get better at a lot of the things they do. But if I have a beat on a right tackle, left tackle, it doesn't matter. Fuaga could move to the other side. If I could get Will Campbell, I'm taking him. I think that's absolutely on the table for me. I don't think anything's been blocked or good enough to the point where you're like, I'm not doing this. But you do see measurable growth. But I thought he played a good game last week, but I don't think he's at the point where you say he's going to be good the next week. I thought 2 weeks ago he was really bad, and then he's up in this game. So you see the ups and the downs, but I would say that he's done well enough to kind of take himself out of that. Oh my God, he's going to sink the season if he plays. That's not the case, and I actually do think he is an asset in the run game.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point. 2 weeks ago, I don't break down every snap as much as you do, but just anecdotally watching the plays, watching back the plays that make or break a game. I thought it was one of his bigger struggling performances of the season. So yeah, he's not completely arrived, but yeah, I mean, we have to give credit. If I think I mentioned this on a previous show, if we had put someone in a cave like Aaron Rodgers' off-season vacations, and they came out and they saw the Saints at 2-7, they'd be like, "Oh, Trevor Penning was a disaster." And it's like, actually, no, that's one thing we haven't been talking about much this year. He's been way more. You can get by with him than we ever expected, and actually has now had enough time in there that he's showing growth. He's showing familiarity in that role. He's recognizing things, as Nick pointed out in that film study. So feel way better about him than I expected to at this point in the season. Fuaga, yeah, I jury's still out on Fuaga. I mean, I consider him an asset, but they had, what did they have, the 12th pick in the draft? I would like to think. They got their cornerstone, when he's going to be ranked number 3 on our list next year when we do our top 20 players. So I hope we see hints of that by the end of this season. But for now, I think I think those guys are not derailing the season. Fuaga's got hope and promise, and completely agree with Nick that if you get a top 10 pick, I want it to be a quarterback, a left tackle, or a defensive end with one of those 3 spots. Left tackle is absolutely in that conversation still.
Yeah, and I mean he's had some bad games. Like the Eagles game, I thought was really bad. It was the Broncos game is the one. Like I would have, if I had another option, like I thought that Broncos game was shaky enough that I would have like considered benching him. And then like he turns it around and he looks. The Bucks wasn't great, but then he looks good this week. So I mean, there's those ups and downs. But that Broncos game, like I can't remember what the number was. It was like a dozen pressures. Like it was a lot of pressure he was giving up in that game, and it was like, damn, this is rough. But there were just so many other issues that it's just like it flew under the radar. But I think Benton and them are doing a good job developing these guys. You see Penning, he's solid. And look, there's young tackles all across the league that are going to have individual games that shake confidence. And when you're in a position where confidence can be shaken, like he is, I think that becomes a thing. But he's been fine. Like I would say overall, like fine.
There's 3 major elements that concerned us with Penning. One is he good enough? 2 is, can he stay healthy? He had major toe injuries with that giant frame. Yeah. And 3 is, can he ever get over this confidence issue that he's been dealing with? And I feel like we feel way better about the health, and we feel a little better about the confidence. The is he good enough part, maybe he'll never get past that. But he was broken because all 3 of those things were going wrong.
We know now, though, that you can, if you have to, you can get through a season with him. So you don't have to replace him right away, but
you'd like to upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, there's still kind of like half a season, so we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if we were doing a draft breakdown right now and Campbell's there, I'm taking him. I'm not gonna be like, well, like they got Penning, so or I'm taking him.
Penning can be your third tackle. If he's good, great, you got a third tackle. That'd be great if that's what Penning became. Yeah. Because you're going to use him several times throughout a season.
Yeah, and then one thing, just speaking on Campbell, that's a person who, like at this moment, still in the middle of losing, exudes confidence. And then it's at the SEC level. So I wouldn't bat an eye and I'd just take him if I had him available. But earlier this season, Fuaga, he kind of detailed that having Erik McCoy and Cesar Ruiz was helping him in his success. And those 2 pieces were gone for a good chunk of the season so far. Point. So let's see now with, those 2 veterans back on the field in game, helping him out how he does. But they got that monster in Myles Garrett coming this weekend. So kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's quite a challenge. And look, Fuaga, when we talk about what do we want to look for the rest of the season, what do we want to watch, what do we want to key in on, now that wins and losses aren't the most important thing anymore, Fuaga under the microscope is absolutely something that should be near the top of the list of things to watch. And that's a really good point. That's great that he'll get to do it while working next to Ruiz not next to Ruiz, but having a complete offensive line to work with. Yeah. It'll help with his development. It'll help with our evaluation of him. High on the list of top priorities for the rest of this season too.
Yeah. So Garrett, 300 snaps on the defensive right side, 65 on the left. Trevor Penning's going to probably be all right. He's probably going to be all right because all the attention's going to be on the other side this week if it breaks down the same way. So shout out to Penning, man. You got a good assignment this week. That position switch is going to pay off.
Now let's get into our next segment. Will Darren Rizzi's energy continue forward into this week? The energy last week was just outrageous. You couldn't bottle it up between him coming in that first day with the press conference, changing around the lockers, changing the way practice was held, the whole 9. It ended up winning the game almost at the detriment of himself with the interaction between him and Peyton Turner at the end. But will that be able to carry over to this week against Cleveland?
We're going to see. I mean, I don't know how long that high rides for. I mean, I think people are going to be energized and playing hard and, going all out. Yeah. I don't think that necessarily changes, but there's a peak level of oh, this is amazing. At the beginning that I think you get, and at some point that's going to level out. You go buy a new broom, it's the best sweep job you ever had, but after you've used it 45 times, the bristles start to wear down a little bit. And, the new broom always sweeps the best when it's brand new. That's kind of everybody. Someone gets a new job, they're the new broom at the new job. But And it's like, oh, this is the best employee I ever got. But then, 3 months later, they putting in the same effort that they had when they walked in.
Who's he
in
talking
the
about? Is he talking about me or
I've been here for 3 years, man. I've been here for a long time, cuz. I ain't been a new broom in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, like true story, like a job I got fired from, someone went in on me, a boss, and they told me, you came in here, you were the new broom, but like it's like so that's
new broom.
That's
See,
where it comes from.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say you're the analogy king, but I never got as excited about a new broom.
A new
as-
broom is
That's
fire.
that's real talk.
I get excited about new things. Like your analogy works for a lot of things. I never got that. You know what? I'll tell you what. I remember texting you a couple years ago. Why don't I treat myself to new socks more often?
New
when you
socks
put
are
on
great.
a new
Yeah.
pair of new socks.
fresh.
You're like, why don't I do this more often? I
Anyhow,
deserve this.
back
The new broom.
I mean, you must not do a lot of sweeping. 'Cause
Nah,
a new
bro, you
broom
get
is
in the
hard.
corners and stuff when
it's
that
like,
thing's still
man,
angled.
like,
Man,
yeah.
you-
Or
yeah.
it's like you bring home a new vacuum too. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. It's just like, wow, this is like so clean, and it's like very satisfying. And then, over time, it's like you got some like dust balls on the end of it and everything. Like it's just kind of you toss it in the corner and it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying Rizzi's going to get tossed in the corner, but I think you bring in that new energy, and at some point, like it just does. It dissipates a
Right.
little bit, and we'll see where it's at with that. I would say though, I think they dodged a bullet last week. It was a game they probably should have lost. Like
3 missed field goals and they won by 3.
yeah, and they blocked one, so credit to them
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
But it's a game they probably should have lost, and they found a way to win it. So every interview I've been doing, like people are like, well, like Rizzi's got one. How many more does he need to get? It's like, let's calm down. Like I do think they win this weekend.
Yeah.
I think they could definitely beat the Browns this weekend, but I don't necessarily think that it's like a drastically new team. I wrote a story about how they got their pass rush going. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a whole new pass rush every single week. For a lot of the game, like it felt similar for a lot of the game. So we're gonna see where they're at.
This is the ultimate look beyond the results. The last Falcons game, they just outplayed the Falcons that whole game, but Rashid Shaheed fumbles one into the end zone, and Derek Carr tries to does a bad job. He says trying to spike a ball. I think he was trying to fit it through a window, and a defensive lineman returns it for a touchdown. And then they lose because Younghoe Koo makes a 58-yard field goal as time expires. This game, they punt 5 times in the second half, but Koo misses 3 field goals, and they win by 3. So they actually played better in the Falcons game. They lost probably than this one, but they won this one. They lost that one. But look, there are examples of interim coaches sustaining this. Rich Bisaccia, I think, went 7-6. Steve Wilkes went 6-6. I just had somebody up on here. Antonio Pierce last year went 5-4. I mean, there are guys who do this. Jeff Saturday went 1-7 after winning his first game. So there's guys that don't do this. But I think what's most important is this just wasn't because Rizzi gave good speeches in the locker room. This is because he got the team to buy in on cleaning up some of their fundamental mistakes, practicing the things that were derailing this team in practice, paying more attention to detail, as they say, playing all the way through the fourth quarter, keeping that energy level up. Like the things that were derailing this team, switching to Rizzi and got them like to put a hyper focus on all those things. If they can actually clean those things up, they are a team that can win half their games or more for the rest of the season against this weak schedule. Like, especially with Erik McCoy coming back. I mean, and Derek Carr now back healthy. They're like talented enough to beat the team, a lot of the teams on the schedule, like Cleveland, like the Giants, and even the Atlantas and Tampa Bays later in this season. There's a couple teams I don't think they can beat, but absolutely, if it's a team that, just for a lack of a better term, gets its S together, to use a term, it's crap together, to use a term that Rizzi put at the forefront the other day, then they can be a better team, and it's not just about an emotional high.
My concern, my big thing, though, like that's all, have all the energy in the world, but the concern I have for the Saints right now, that second half of that game, it was, if we put our best corner on Marquez Valdes-Scantling,
that's
it's over.
Yeah.
They can't do anything. So if you're going into this game and you say you're the Browns and you go, well, why don't we just put Ward on MVS and he'll never be matched up on Emerson and he won't necessarily be able to beat him deep, and we have the best chance of taking away these 2 or 3 plays that they're going to try to get.
That's true.
If we take those away, all we have to do is stop the run.
Yeah.
And what do you
They
do
don't
then?
hit those shot plays. They had nothing on offense. Yeah.
It's a like Rizzi could coach his team like immaculately, but I have talent concerns over what they're going to be able to do. But again, I think they have a chance to win this game, but I think stopping their offense isn't a complicated puzzle right now. It's just
very true.
If we take away the deep ball, what do they have? And it's okay. Well, I'm willing to play. You know, put my best corner on him and play 10-on-10 against Alvin Kamara. And you know, where does it end up at the end? I think it's going to be tough for him to sustain it just on a talent standpoint.
No, that's a great point. Rizzi, he's still energetic. He's still riding the high off of last game, but he's not letting it overly consume him. But he is saying some different things. He was on McAfee yesterday. He was saying how he wants the Rizzler in the Superdome, how he wants Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens down there. I like Rizzi because he's kind of like me. He lets you know where he lets you know where he's from. He was saying how the special thing about Livy Dunn is she's from Hillsdale, New Jersey, where he's from. You know what I mean? The man is always putting where he's from on the map, every chance he gets. I like that. I like how he operates.
That is true of Brandon. That is, I never knew Brandon and Rizzi were the same, but Brandon does always tell you where he's from. That's for sure.
Another thing, though, implications in this game. I mean, the energy, sound bites, memes, the whole nine. Rizzi and Jameis Winston. Who knows what it's going to be?
Speaking of where you're from, how'd that game go for you? It's the big rivalry game.
Oh, you looked it up just now.
No, how'd it go? How'd it go for you?
This was the best showing we had. I'm going to always be good.
How'd it go?
I'm going to always be good because my senior year, we won.
The score? People don't know. People don't follow high school. What was the score?
We lost by a touchdown.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the break.
Wait, no, real quick. Shout out to the undefeated Haynes High School football team representing my sons.
There you go.
That doesn't happen for Haynes very often.
There you go.
Good luck in the playoffs.
Shout out.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Welcome to the the Queen Casino, the crown jewel of entertainment destinations. From the thrill of gaming, where every spin and deal brings you closer to fortune, to the excitement of sports betting, where you can feel the rush of victory. Our spaces and catering menu are perfect for any event. From business meetings to grand celebrations, immerse yourself in our vibrant atmosphere with live music that keeps the party going all night long. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Urban South. What's up, man?
Like, we put the commercial in, like, after, like, you really just stopped right there. Like,
He was like, "Thank goodness I got a hard exit right
he
here."
got beat, and he just walked out. He just walked out of the conversation.
Hey, man, we lost, but, like, we're going to...
You got a moral victory.
No, we got...
It wasn't the result. It was the lessons.
It's the way we
He's
lost
looking
that
beyond the
game. I'm
results.
satisfied with that. Boyne got them boys looking good. We're going to be all right come the future.
So you're looking beyond the results.
Don't do that to
Good
me.
job.
Don't do that to me.
They just got to keep doing what they're doing.
No.
He got beat so bad in that conversation that he grabbed it by the shoulders and just took the PI penalty.
Now it's time for our next segment presented by Urban South. How did the secondary look in this first game post-Marshon Lattimore?
I mean, I think they missed him.
Yeah, I'm still concerned. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they missed him. I mean, they missed him for sure.
No
yeah,
question.
I mean, I think, and it's not just him. It's the culmination of, like, there's a lot of injuries right now. Like, there's no Kool-Aid, there's no Marshon, there's no Adebo. I seen a video Adebo posted yesterday of working out. Like, he's moving pretty good. I was kind of like, I don't know what to expect from that type of injury, but he was doing like little box steps and stuff. Like, he looked like he's recovering pretty good. So that'll be interesting to kind of see what his market is this offseason. But yeah, I think they still got issues in the secondary for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Darnell Mooney was a monster against them. You don't face a Darnell Mooney every week, and you're not facing that this week, especially since the Browns traded away Amari Cooper. Drake London's obviously very good too, but that speed that Mooney has kind of gave them problems. Mm-hmm. I think my biggest concern of the whole deal, I mean, actually, Shamar Jean-Charles has held up fairly well for me. Like, instead of everybody just attacking the guy that's inexperienced, Ugo Amadi has done okay. Got beat once or twice, but has held up okay. I think Alontae Taylor needs to be more of an alpha number one. That's what he wants to be. That's what he has the talent to be. He's been their best corner probably, arguably all season. Marshon, when healthy, was better. But Taylor had a tough game. 2 PI penalties, a defensive holding penalty. Look, we talked about how the rest of this season is a big showcase for Tali Fuaga, so that hopefully he's putting himself in the top 5 players, top 5 assets for this team going forward. Exact same thing for Alontae Taylor. He needs to have us walking away from these next 2 months considering him a top 5, top 10 asset on this team, I think. So the onus is really on him to make that group go.
Cleveland's leading receiver, Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos, I think during the offseason he got traded to Cleveland. He only has 1 touchdown this year. Yeah. Cedric Tillman, their second leading receiver, has 3. So
Tillman's come on strong after in the wake of Cooper. He's kind of their quickly became their number 1. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not the same level of talent as Darnell Mooney and Drake London, but it's still nobody to sneeze at. So you got to make sure
they've got a big tight end to worry about in this game too. It'll be interesting to see how they do against Njoku. They let Pitts get that one big one against him, but otherwise,
boy, that was a nice catch.
Yeah.
Now it's time for our next segment. Did Joe Woods calling the defense impact the increased pass rush this week?
I don't think it was the play calling. I think it was a design. They rushed. They had a different rush plan. It was kind of straight up rushing instead of simulated pressures. And those again are basically say, like, if you were playing nickel, which you would be on third down, probably you would bring 6 guys up to like the line of scrimmage, like all your linebackers, all your defensive linemen, maybe even a DB, and you could bring a bunch of guys up to the defensive line. Like, you always see that cluster. Like, it's just like the guys there, and then you have the secondary behind them, and it's the who's dropping, who's coming thing. And sometimes it might be, somebody blitzing and you got your D lineman dropping into a shallow zone, or it could be the D lineman coming, or, which side is the pressure coming from. And the idea of that is that you send 4 and you still drop 7, but you don't know which 4 are coming. So you speed up the quarterback and they have to decipher it. So you kind of get the same effect of bringing pressure without actually bringing pressure and exposing yourself in the pass defense. So it's called a simulated pressure. And that's kind of what they did. And they were kind of at the forefront of that. And it's a trend across the league. But I don't think I saw them do one of those in this last game. It was just kind of a normal, just go rush the passer. And we've heard Cam for years like complain about how they would have 3-down linemen, and they do those simulated pressures even in like lesser, like you got your 3 guys and there's a 4th player coming, but you don't know where they're coming from. And like it would kind of look traditional, but like, is it the slot corner coming? Is it a linebacker, whoever? And like Cam's low key been complaining about the 3-man fronts for a while, like even before the big downturn. Like he's been complaining about them for a while, but that's been a trend for them, is that, it's just you're making everybody read a little bit more, and you're trying to create a vulnerability without taking somebody out of your coverage. And it worked for a while, but I wrote a story last year kind of going, I don't know, probably right around this time, about how their pass rush was broken and they weren't blitzing anymore and they got away from their core ideals. And at the end of the last season, they kind of got back to the core ideals. Like if you look at DA's career coming up into like the last couple of years, you would say the 2 things he does well: A, disguise coverage; B, he's aggressive as hell. And that was with the blitzing. Like they led the league in blitzing, or were top 5 in blitzing every single year. Even his time in Oakland and Denver, like that was the hallmark of DA's defense. And they just stopped doing that. And in this game, I thought that was just kind of more of a straightforward approach. And the other thing that was different, it was their rotations. Like it would be a guy plays a snap or 2 snaps and then they're coming out. Snap, snap out, snap, snap out. In this one, like you're in there. So now if you're Cam Jordan, you're Chase Young, you're Peyton Turner, I'm going to work this inside move. I'm going to work this inside move. I'm going to work this inside move. Now you're looking for the inside move. I'm showing you a tendency and I'm going to fake it and I'm going to work off it and hit a counter to it and get over here. And like you can set things up a little bit more and paint a picture and tell a story and have a pass rush plan. Whereas like if it's like snap, snap out, like you're not getting it. Now you saw at the end of this game, they're still rotating. It's 4, 5, 6 snaps. But now at the end of the game, because you're still able to send guys in waves, your pass rush is still fresh. They've worn out the offensive line, but they're kind of in a flow now, and you're still getting the effect of like, okay, at the end of the game, because we're sending them in waves, we're going to be fresh. You're going to be worn down to a nub, and we're going to beat you in crunch time, and that's kind of what they were able to do. So I would say it was more of that than like Joe calling the game differently.
Man, you need a chef hat. You do, bro. You went in. You cooking.
I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. That was my takeaway.
Then you're going to say, well.
You just made the point at the end. They were still rotating. It was 52 snaps for Granderson, 42 each for Young and Jordan played some of those inside, but they were letting them stay in longer as part of that rotation. I think like 6 snaps at a time for a lot of those guys. And then look, Young's up to 3 sacks now. I wonder, let's put him on that list with Fuaga and Taylor, the guys under the microscope for the end of this season. If he doubles that, if he gets 4 sacks the rest of the season, he gets to his 7.5. That's been his career high mark. Maybe he'll be looked at slightly differently going into free agency. But it was interesting their approach with Jordan too. I mean, that was one of the things that I think Rizzi did. I mean, obviously he's letting the defensive guys make those defensive decisions, but he said it was a conscious decision. Cam Jordan was not happy with only playing 10 snaps last week, and they go right away to 42 this week. There's no secret behind that. Now, he said a lot of that had to do with this matchup. Atlanta obviously runs the ball as much and efficiently as any team they're going to face this season. They have that 1-2 punch. They wanted Jordan in there for run defense at end and tackle. So he said it was 42 snaps this week. He said it'll probably be somewhere in between the 10 and the 42 most games going forward. It won't be 42 every week, but that was definitely a little statement to refresh Cam Jordan and make sure that he's a part of this, revitalized pass rush too.
Yeah, Mike, your guy PT, 2 sacks on the season. Obviously, the one he had week 10. Guess when his other one was?
Week 1.
Nope.
Oh.
Against Atlanta. Man is a bird killer. Man is a bird killer. PT got his 2 sacks against Atlanta. So
his run defense needs to be a little bit better,
Yeah.
but he did a really good job rushing the passer this week.
I wonder if he's getting fined this week for that cheap shot on Darren Rizzi.
Riz embraced it, man.
He did. He drilled him. Man.
embraced
He
it.
drilled him. It was like an enthusiastic. I don't know if it was meant as a "yeah, we did it" or like
No,
now can I celebrate? But he drilled him. Drilled him.
Red shook back, man.
You got to look for an empty locker. Peyton Turner's spot today when we get out there, just in case.
That's a team DJ, man. They ain't getting rid of him right now. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, does Jameis have an advantage going against his former team, or does the defense have the advantage?
This question gets asked all the time, and I think it's a little less relevant in this case because obviously Jameis is playing in a different system with Cleveland. The Saints' defense has changed a lot in both personnel and now the guys running it from when Jameis was here. So I don't know that there's like a total strategy. And if you're talking about who's got the book on who, everyone's got the book on Jameis Winston. I mean, defenses know what Jameis Winston is for better and for worse, and he's been doing it for a long time. But not just strategy, like who's got the secret formula to beating him. This matchup's really interesting. It's funny. I had to pick up a fantasy quarterback this week, and Jameis was sitting there on the waiver wire, and I'm like, do I think Jameis is going to go off against his secondary? Like, is this a game that sets up for Jameis? We just saw the last 2 weeks. Jameis was the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and then Jameis had a terrible game, and the Browns only scored 3 points. Does this game set up for a good Jameis game or a bad Jameis game is interesting to me. I think he's going to get some shots off.
So I'm not just like taking the opposite side of you. I got asked this morning, I think, on Jordy's show, and my opinion's like I think they're going to probably pick him off like twice. Like
I think
a guy that throws picks and can make mistakes, like. If you're a team that has been around that for a while, you might know how to set something up, to get them into a trap. But I don't think that necessarily means they will, and I don't think that necessarily means that Jameis is going to have a bad game. I mean, he's going against a weak secondary. Weak's the wrong word, but like an injured secondary, depleted secondary, a weakened secondary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity to get some shots, but. If you actually were asking me to weigh the advantage, I think they probably I would skew it towards the defense just because they know, like they've been around them, they went against them in practice. Like he hasn't necessarily went a lot against a lot of these guys in practice, but I think you kind of know his tendencies and the things you were trying to coach around, and like maybe you try to set some stuff up, but. It's gonna be fascinating to me. I think he's gonna be really motivated to have a good game. Last time he was on the field, though, he threw 3 picks. Game before he got the win, but had some picks dropped. So there's gonna be an opportunity to take away the ball, and I think they will.
No question.
Now the similarities between Jameis's first win with Cleveland and then Rizzi's first win are pretty much very similar. Like
they won a game they should have lost.
Yeah, he went in there. He beat the Ravens. You see what the Ravens do on a weekly basis because they're always on these primetime games. They should have lost that game. Last week, you saw the Saints. Young Wei, that's how you pronounce it? Young Wei Koo missing field goals. You never really see that happen. So we'll see. Like I said,
I think Tyron gets another one this week.
Oh yeah, James is food for that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that the Saints don't know that there's opportunities with Jameis Winston. I just feel like the book of Jameis is open for the entire league to read. I don't think you need to have a secret formula.
Yeah. That'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in today. For those who aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to have the latest information on the Saints across the board. And for those who are subscribed, overtime is next. Catch you next time.